Hello. Today's video is going to be 5 true Craigslist stories. This video is going to feature 2 stories read by Viidith 22, and his link will be posted in the description. Please go check him out, sub to him, and let him know that I sent you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. My roommate V was always at her boyfriend's place, so I was living essentially alone in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my friend Esma was crashing with me while she was looking for her own place. She found a place nearby, renting a master bedroom with an attached bathroom for way cheap. We checked out the Google Street View from my laptop, and it looked like a cute little beach house. She rode her bike over to check it out alone. The house was right on the beach, and tons of people were always around, so we thought nothing of it. She said it was 2 beach-type white guys, a young disheveled stoner guy, and a middle-aged parrot-head guy that would close talk while giving her obvious elevator eyes the whole time. She is pretty, petite, Mexican girl around 21, but looked younger, and the older guy kept saying she was just what they were looking for, kinda slowly in what she described as uber creepy voice. The younger guy just stared and followed them around. She thought it was odd that each of them slept in the tiny guest rooms and were renting out the master bedroom, but decided to take a look at it anyway. She said it was a really nice room with a big heavy wooden 4-post bed in the middle of the room that looked like it belonged in a castle, and the bathroom had a huge shower with multiple shower heads on the wall like it was built for a bunch of people to shower at the same time. She got a weird feeling, and she didn't like being in the back bedroom with the 2 guys looming over her. So she said she wanted to make sure her unlocked bike in the front yard was okay. She all but ran to the front yard, and once outside with bystanders, she felt much better. So she's standing in the front yard with the older guy, and he's explaining that she can move in right away, but the bed has to stay exactly where it is. It comes with a room, and is bolted to the floor so it can't be moved. They have special sheets for it, and she can bring everything else, but she can never move the bed. They also tell her that she can have friends over, but only if they're young women, and they could sleep over, but also need to sleep on the bed, and no men. They told her that the hardwood floors were just too uncomfortable, and the couches in the living room were suede, so no one could sleep on them. All these reasons why a big pile of girls need to sleep on the bed. So she's super creeped out by this guy, and texts me to come over. I ride my bike over, and I'm pulling up as she's leaving. We start to ride away, and he yells out after us, "It's mandatory, but we always have a blast." She kind of shudders, and I ask her what's up. She says she'll tell me over drinks, and we ride to the nearest beach bar. She explains about the room, the bed, the guys, and then tells me part of the deal is a mandatory ski trip to Lake Tahoe in Northern California each year. She can invite girls to the trip that have been to the house before, but only if the guys think they're cool enough. It's free for the other girls to hang out, but it's mandatory that she go with the guys as their official woman. There would be other men there, but they all brought their own women. He said it like women would be assigned to them or something. So our minds start racing, and we convince ourselves that the bedroom and the trip are some elaborate webcam situation or something. Needless to say, she never moved in there, and she never took them up on their free ski weekend. V ended up moving in with her boyfriend, and Esma moved in with me for a couple years. She was an awesome roommate. I really love Craigslist. I'd estimate I've met maybe 300 people for buying or selling stuff, and for the most part, everyone was nice and harmless. However, I did run into 2 creeps who made me rethink meeting strangers alone to sell my stuff. I was in my early 20s and I'm female. First guy. It's 2009 and I'm staying with my parents for the Christmas holidays in a small town in Florida. I'm going through my childhood room and cleaning out the closet when I find a giant CD holder full of maybe 100. It's the 21st century. No one uses CDs anymore. I figured I'd try to sell the CDs on Craigslist. So I put up a listing 100 CDs from the late 90s, a mixture of pop and rock, all for $35 or best offer. The next day I get an email from a guy named John around 2 p.m. He says he's in town temporarily and that he wants the CDs. He says he can pick them up after dinner around 8 p.m. So I email him back my address and number and tell him to text or call when he's on his way. 8 p.m. comes and goes, and I figure I'd just been stood up, which happens often on Craigslist. No big deal. My dad works at a liquor distribution company and would often do demonstration nights at bars and would come home after the bar's closing time. This night, he gets home around 3 a.m. I'm currently in college and am a total night owl, so I'm still up probably eating junk food, surfing the web, or watching horror flicks. I hear a car pull up, look out the window, and see him sitting in his car eating food. He often stops at Taco Bell on his way home and eats in his car so my mom doesn't know he's cheating on his diet. Maybe 10 minutes later, my dad comes in and shouts my name. "There's someone here to see you. Can you please tell me why there's a strange man showing up at my house at 3 a.m. Huh? I go downstairs, and my dad says some guy pulled up in the driveway and asked for me by name. I walk outside with my dad, and there's this guy who's maybe in his mid-30s that gets out of his car. He says he's the Craigslist guy who wanted to buy the CDs. My dad goes back into the house. I tell the guy it's really, really late just to be stopping by, especially without texting me first. However, since I'm awake, I grab the CDs. He proceeds to drone on and on about why he's buying the CDs. He says he's engaged to a woman he loves very much, and all he wants to do is make her happy. He said that last week, someone broke into her car and stole all of her CDs. She was really upset, and he wanted to make it up to her. He looked on Craigslist and found my listing, and was really excited, because I had a bunch of CDs that she used to have. Weird thing is, I didn't list any of the artists or bands, because I was really lazy, but I didn't think of that at the time. Anyway, he said he was getting it for a Christmas surprise. He said he was staying with his future in-laws somewhere nearby, and that their family barbecue ran really late, which is why he never made it at 8 p.m. By this point, I've lost all interest, saying something along the lines as, "That's sweet. Next time you should probably call or text the Craigslisters instead of just showing up." I hand him the CDs, and he hands me cash, and then I go back inside. 3 days later. "Hey, I don't know my way around town. Can you be my tour guide?" With a winky face. "Where can I get a massage in this town?" "You're Asian. Do you do massage? Would you take $40 for an hour massage with a happy ending?" Finally, I text back, "Who the fuck is this?" "Oh, sorry. I bought the CDs from you the other day. Do you squirt?" I didn't respond, obviously. I show my friends that night, and we laugh it off. The next day, I get more texts. "I still have your address. I'm at the Bank of America near your neighborhood. I just got the $40. Babe. Only 3 minutes away. Are you home? Stop ignoring me. I'm almost there." I immediately run downstairs and tell my mom and dad. It was nighttime, so we shut off all the lights outside and inside my house. My mom, little brother, and I went to my parents' room in the back of the house. My dad hid behind the curtains of the front bay window with a shovel in hand. I heard him running down the front hallway, flinging the front door open, and running outside. We heard some faint shouting, so we walked out of the bedroom. By this time, my dad had came back in with a shovel, and his hair was messy. Apparently, the guy came driving down our street really slow. My dad recognized the car and went running outside with a shovel, yelling curse words at the guy. The guy peeled off and never came back or texted me again. The second guy. I was moving from Florida to DC and was going to load up my car as much as I could with stuff. However, I lived on the 3rd floor, plus it was a bit of a walk from my assigned parking spot. So I figured I could use some help. I posted an ad on Craigslist gigs. I said I was looking for someone to help me load some heavy stuff like TV, desk, in my car. Less than an hour's worth of work, and I'd paid $45 or whatever. I give the very first responder my number and address, and he shows up. He was probably 5'8" and 350 pounds of pure fat. The sweat and smell coming off this guy in the Florida heat was pretty nauseating. But I didn't care as long as he did the job right. While he was carting heavy stuff, I was loading lighter things. Whenever I'd go upstairs to grab another load, he'd hurry after me so he'd walk up the stairs right behind me. I had the door propped open, so he didn't have to worry about me needing to unlock the door for him or anything. When he followed me up the stairs, he made a weird grunting noise like, mm-hmm. But I assumed it was because he was out of shape. Eventually, everything was loaded properly, safe from all the sweat smears on my stuff. I pay him, and he drives off. I got back to my place and finished loading and cleaning. I go out maybe 45 minutes later to put another load in my car, and I see his truck is back, parked across the street from mine. He's sitting in his driver's seat, looking at me. When he sees that I notice him, he looks away. I walk over to his window and knock. He rolls it down, and I ask him if he needed help or if he was lost. I was really confused as to why he came back, and I knew he didn't live near me. He didn't say anything, just rolled his window back up and drove off. Of course, 5 minutes later, my phone starts blowing up, and I didn't recognize the number, so I didn't answer the calls. Then the texts start rolling in. I bet you taste salty and sweet. Who is this? What are you doing tonight? I can come back over. I get a sinking feeling. It's the Craigslist guy. He had never called me about the job when I gave him my number, so I didn't know this was his number. I like your pink panties. Then I realized he was looking at my dress while I was walking up the stairs. I immediately feel like a total idiot for wearing a dress that day. He starts to dial my number over and over again. At the time, I didn't know how to block numbers through Sprint, so I decided to just turn off my phone. Later, I was with my guy friend grabbing a bite and turning my phone back on. I got another text from the guy. It was about he wanted to toss me around like a rag doll and tie me up and make me beg for it. I show the text to my friend and tell him the story. The Craigslist creep proceeds to start blowing up my phone again, so my friend answers and says he's gonna cut off his dick, feed it to his dog if he ever contacts me again. I moved the next day, so I never had to worry about him randomly showing up in his truck again. Since then, I've bought and sold things off Craigslist, but I always make the people meet me at a public place. I had got used to checking Craigslist before buying anything new. So when my ice cream maker died, I headed there. I found the one I wanted, new in the box, and emailed if it was still available. For some reason, I assumed I was talking to a woman, and we made plans to meet up. I had sort of got careless about always meeting up in public, and had agreed to come to her home, believing she had several small kids that made it difficult for her to leave home. I was supposed to go after work, and we switched to text messages so she could text me the address, and so that I could let her know when I was on my way. I got home, and she texted me the address. My normal routine at this point would have been to hop in the car and use my TomTom to find it. But since I had booted up my PC while waiting, I decided to use Google Maps. I typed in the address, and it showed that a registered sex offender, a violent sex offender, and a child sex offender lived there. I Googled the phone number, and the same person came up. I let them know I was not coming, and went to Walmart and spent $5 more to buy it there. So, Mr. Sex Offender, who tried to lure me with ice cream, let's not meet.
This happened last year, around this season, while I was broke and struggling to make ends meet. I had just moved out and didn't want to resort to going back to my parents. Anyway, I was so desperate I was looking on CL for caregiver or housekeeping type gigs, just to make quick cash while I looked for an FT position. After responding to several, I got a bite back from a man who had advertised as a disabled man who needed help with his morning and evening routines since he had a bad back. As a past caregiver, I thought nothing of his requests to help with bathing and dressing since I knew it could be difficult for some. After chatting on the phone and coming to the conclusion that he was nice and normal, I proceeded to head over to his townhouse late one night to help him with his nighttime routine. He lived a bit out of the way from me, but I was desperate and didn't mind. He even said I could spend the night, since he'd need me in the morning anyway. Once I got there, he was a decent-looking man in his late 30s or early 40s with a cane. He paid me $200 up front for the expected nighttime and morning routine the next day. He explained he was ex-military and had back surgery recently. Things started to get weird on how cute he thought I was. I should have seen that as a big red flag, but again, I was super poor, but I didn't want to cheat him, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He then led me to his bedroom, where he got undressed for his evening shower. I was horrified, since I saw that he had a giant erection and wanted me to lather him up. He asked if I wanted to take my clothes off, and I declined. He responded respectfully. However, he did touch my butt when I was bent over to pick up something for him. I should have ran out right then, but I was waiting for the right moment. After quickly giving him the most unsexy shower in the most platonic way I could, he got out and said he was headed to bed, but didn't want to wear any clothes. The guest room where I was to stay was right next to his, and though I was tired, I was still pretty on edge. My gut instinct was telling me to get the hell out of there. The issue was that we were on a 3-story townhouse, and we were on the top floor, and he had installed baby gates on each floor so his cats wouldn't run away. Also, he had turned off all the lights on the lower floors, so it was pitch black. In order for me to get out, I'd have to pass his room. I quietly arranged my stuff in my purse while I heard his TV blaring, and to my horror, I saw him walk swiftly to his bathroom without his cane. I realized he was not as disabled as he had told me, since he had previously put on an act as if he couldn't walk without it. He also still had his heart on and was holding a giant bottle of lotion with him. As quickly and quietly as I could, I fled and ran like hell out of the room while he was in the bathroom, and jumped like an Olympic sprinter over the cat gates down the dark stairs. As I threw the front door open to run to the car, I heard his house alarm go off. I got into my car as fast as lightning, heart beating like crazy. I immediately got phone calls from his number, and every car that trails me had me terrified until I got out of there. Finally, after a 2-hour drive, I was back to my place, and grateful I was out of there. Who knows what could have happened if I had stayed overnight, but I didn't want to stay to find out. I'm not sure if this belongs here, but years ago when I was about 13, I don't remember my exact age, but it was around middle school, I made a post on Craigslist advertising babysitting services as a way to make some money. The morning after I made the post, I got a phone call, no number, from a man supposedly interested in hiring. As soon as I heard his voice, I got an anxious feeling. He had whispered and talked very low and slow the entire time. It was extremely off-putting. It sounded like he was middle-aged. So we exchanged hellos, and he said what he was calling about and asked what I was charging. He asked my name, which he would repeat over and over throughout the conversation, just adding to the strangeness, my age, other details, etc. So anyway, he said he had a young son from whom he needs a babysitter. Then he began asking me about my experience, and then strangely diving into overly lengthy descriptions of his own life. I don't remember the details of the conversation, but I do remember one thing he asked extremely clearly.
Now, Matthew, My son, sometimes he likes to touch himself. That wouldn't bother you, would it?
In his creepy, slow, low voice. I just remember being filled with anxiety at that and wanted to hang up immediately. It was just sort of too much information. His voice and tone really made it a lot worse. He sounded serious, but at this point I was partially convinced that this was some sort of a prank, and I was almost certain he didn't have a kid. I had no idea how to respond to that, and even though this was on the phone, me being a stupid and at that point a petrified 13-year-old kid, I just responded with no. And I'm sure he realized how nervous I sounded because he gave a low chuckle and continued on.
Because you know how little boys are.
Honestly, a lot of details of this conversation are blurred, and it went by fairly quickly. I just kind of remember nodding and yesing my way to the end when he asked my availability and said he would give a call back. He ended with,
Okay, thanks, Matthew.
with a little chuckle, and hung up. I can't remember whether he gave me his information or not, but I'm pretty sure he didn't call back. I do remember jumping onto my computer and taking my ad down as soon as the conversation ended. I felt like complete shit after that phone call, and wondered whether that was a normal discussion for an adult to try to have with a potential child babysitter. I mean, it's not, right? I'm definitely glad I never met this guy. Terrible, terrible vibes just through the phone.
If you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, linked in the description is my Twitter, Instagram, my merch. Go check out the merch. You don't have to buy anything. Just check it out. Just let me know what you think of it. And also my email address. If you have any stories that you'd like me to read, that you wrote, send them in. Just let me know if they're true stories or they're fiction. I'll be doing a subscriber story video very shortly, so get those in as soon as possible if you want to be on it. If not, it'll be in the next one. But anyways, I really appreciate you watching. Till next time.